Hey, welcome back to The Explainer. We're diving into part 7 of our series on Jean Benjour's Realities of Life. And today, we're talking about something huge. Key number 7, the power of service. Honestly, this is one of those ideas that can totally change how you see your life and the mark you leave on the world. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with a really powerful story about kindness. Then we'll dig into the heart of what service really means. We'll look at why it can be so tough in our modern world, how even the smallest acts can have a massive impact. And then we'll get to the good stuff, how you can start building your own legacy of service, like today. So let's jump right in.
All right, let's kick things off with a story. Now, this story might be fictional, but what it represents is about as real as it gets. It's a reminder that sometimes one single decision to help someone can change, well, everything.
Okay, so picture this. A quiet road, and then just bam, the awful sound of metal scraping pavement. There's a young guy injured, his bike completely totaled. For a few moments, it's just chaos and uncertainty. And then, a beat-up old pickup truck pulls a U-turn. A total stranger gets out, and he doesn't even hesitate. He manages to get the wrecked bike into the truck bed, helps the young man into the cab, and floors it to the hospital. And get this, he doesn't just drop him at the curb. He waits, he sits with him until family shows up, and he won't take a dime, won't even really accept a thank you. He just saw someone in need and acted.
Now, you'd think that's the end of the story, right? A nice moment. But nope. The next morning, the stranger finds out his mortgage, the whole thing, has been paid off. And outside, a brand new truck is sitting in his driveway. It's like something out of a movie. But the reward, as amazing as it is, isn't actually the point here. And this is the key. This is the whole idea. We're so trained to think of kindness as a transaction. I do something good, I get something good back. But true service completely flips that. The act itself, the helping, the giving, without any expectation of getting something back, that is the reward. It's love in motion.
And this isn't some new age concept. Not at all. This idea is woven into the fabric of our oldest, most powerful stories. So let's look at a couple timeless examples that really show us what it means to serve. First up, the Good Samaritan. You probably know this one. A guy gets beaten, robbed, left for dead on the side of the road. A priest comes by, walks right past him. Another religious leader comes by, crosses the street to avoid him. These are the people who are supposed to help, right? But then comes a Samaritan, someone from a group that was completely looked down upon, an outcast. He's the one who stops, cleans the man's wounds, takes him to an inn, and even pays the bill. It's just a brilliant story showing that real service doesn't care about social status or prejudice. It just sees a human in need. Okay, now for a real-world example. This guy, William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army. Back in his day, he saw churches literally turning away the poor because they were dirty or didn't look right. So you know what Booth did? He opened his own doors to absolutely everyone. He gave them food, a place to sleep. He gave them their dignity back when nobody else would. And his commitment was just unreal. Later in life, Booth went blind. His son had to tell him he'd never see again. And after a long pause, Booth just whispered this: "I have done what I could with my eyes. Now I shall do what I can without my eyes." For him, service wasn't about what was convenient or easy. It was just who he was, period. And maybe one of the most profound examples of service comes from this one act. Jesus, the leader, the teacher, kneels down and starts washing his followers' feet. You have to understand, in that culture, this was the job of the lowest servant in the house. It was dirty, demeaning work. It was absolutely shocking. And with that one simple, humble act, he turned the whole idea of leadership on its head. This slide nails it. Greatness isn't about having people serve you. It's about you serving them. Real authority doesn't come from being loud and in charge. It comes from humility. And true power, it's not about control. It's about love. So, if this idea is so powerful and so timeless, why can it be so darn hard to actually live it out day to day? Well, that brings us to the big conflict, the ideal of service versus the constant pressures of the world we live in. It feels like we're in a constant tug of war, doesn't it? The world is yelling at us, be more productive, make more money, get more status. But our soul, our heart, is pulling us in a different direction. It's pulling us toward real connection with people, toward our shared humanity, toward a purpose that's bigger than just our own success. It's a choice we have to make every single day. But here's the really good news. You don't have to sell everything you own or move to a remote village to serve. Not at all. It's right here, in the small, everyday stuff. At home, it's as simple as putting your phone away and really, truly listening to someone, or deciding to forgive someone instead of holding on to a grudge. At work, it's having a coworker's back when they're struggling. And in your community, sometimes it's just about showing up. And this is so, so important to get. The size of the act is not what matters. Let's talk about how these simple, small actions can create ripples that go way further than you could ever imagine. Every single time you choose to serve, no matter how small it seems, it's like dropping a pebble in a pond. The ripples, they spread. They touch people and situations in ways you might never, ever know about. That one kind word you said, it might have completely changed someone's day. These things take on a life of their own. And when you start doing this consistently, something really amazing starts to happen inside you. It's a total transformation. Service stops being something you do, and it becomes part of who you are. It becomes your identity. And that builds your legacy, one small act at a time. And the most incredible part? It becomes one of the deepest, most reliable sources of joy you'll ever find. Okay, so this brings us to the most important question of all. How do we actually do this? How do we take this big, beautiful idea and make it real in our lives? Let's talk about how you can start right now. All right, I've got a challenge for you. It's simple. In the next 48 hours, I want you to do one intentional act of service for somebody. It can be tiny. The only rule is do it with zero expectation of getting anything back. No thanks, no recognition, nothing. Just do it. And then, just pay attention. Notice how it feels. See if it shifts your perspective, even just a little bit. Now, let's also be practical for a minute. It's really hard to throw a life preserver to someone else when you feel like you're drowning, right? Especially when it comes to money. Getting to a place of financial stability isn't a selfish goal. It actually empowers you to serve. It gives you the space, the time, the energy, the resources to help lift other people up. So building on that, here's a second challenge, a more strategic one. Take a look at your budget. Find one, just one, expense you can cut for good. Maybe it's a streaming service you barely watch or that daily coffee you could make at home. Then take the money or the time you save and consciously redirect it. Don't just let it get absorbed. Invest it in a relationship or use it for a specific act of service. Because this whole journey leads us to a new definition of what it means to be wealthy. The world tells us wealth is money, cars, stuff. But a life of service shows you what real wealth is. It's having time. It's having deep, meaningful relationships. It's waking up with a sense of purpose. It's spiritual depth. That is real freedom. So, I'll leave you with this one question to think about. When it's all said and done, our lives aren't going to be measured by what we got, but by what we gave. Not by our job title, but by our service. So, what will your legacy be?